Bless all men and women across our country, as well as Barbadians living overseas. Give to us all a vivid sense of your presence, so in moments of prayer, we may humbly lay before you our limitations and seek your purposes for the human race. So, Lord God, what we know not, teach us. What we have not, give us. What we are not, make us. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
This house is in session. Minutes for the meeting held on Tuesday, August 24, 2021, and Tuesday, August 31st, 2021 to be confirmed. Honorable Leader, Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the aforesaid minutes be confirmed.
The question is that the aforesaid minutes be confirmed. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it. The aforementioned minutes are hereby confirmed.
Announcements by Your Honor the Speaker. Yeah.
I wish that it gives me the greatest pleasure and honor to acknowledge the presence of Miss Naraya Reed, 9 years old, a class 3 student at Hinesbury Primary School, and to Sean Yearwood, 8 years old, a class 2 student at Lawrence T. Gay Memorial Primary School. I hope the two of you all understand, learn a lot, and enjoy these proceedings and see how the proceedings in relation to young people are conducted in this honorable chamber. I hope that members of Parliament will in addition to acknowledging their presence, would conform to a high degree of civility and do not exhibit any untoward behavior in the presence of our young people. Message from the Honorable the Senate to the Honorable the House of Assembly. The Honorable the Senate has the honor to extend its compliments to the Honorable the House of Assembly and to reply to the message from the House inviting the Senate to appoint 6 members to a joint select committee on the National Vending Bill 2021. The Honorable the Senate is pleased to appoint Senator the Honorable Miss Lisa R. Cummings, Senator Dr. Lynette P. Holder, Senator Damian R. Sands, and Senator Casual A. Franklin, Senator Julian A. Hunt, and Senator Miss Althea M. Wiggins to constitute the Joint Select Committee with the Honorable the House and to offer every good wish for the deliberations of the committee. Dated the 8th day of September 2021, signed President. I also wish to take this opportunity to inform the Honorable House of the Public Expenditure Scrutiny for Members of Parliament project, a webinar to be conducted between September and October 2021. This is a collaborative effort between the Caribbean Development Bank, the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, DOS Group Limited, this Parliament, and the Caribbean Center for Development Administration, CARICAD. This is to present an opportunity to have dynamic conversations on applying core principles of financial oversight and budget management in the region. The first webinar will be conducted on September 29 at 10 a.m. with the topic Financial Oversight. What is it for? I would hope that members of this honorable chamber would use this opportunity to apprise themselves of this important function and be in attendance. Additionally, I think the House is aware that there will be a meeting this afternoon with members from the IMF via Zoom. This is for the Standing Finance Committee. And I would appreciate that this chamber understands and knows that the Standing Finance Committee comprises all members of this honorable chamber with the exception of the Speaker. So I would hope that members would also attend this important topic and seminar and conversation with the IMF. Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Just a point of privilege, Mr. Speaker, and to give you the courtesy of notice that the opposition will not participate in this meeting with the International Monetary Fund. I got notice of this yesterday morning. That's not my complaint. My complaint lies herein. The government of Barbados has been in an arrangement with the International Monetary Fund for the past 3 years plus months. Several engagements with IMF teams have taken place, both physically, actually, and virtually. On no occasion up until this point has the opposition office, or the leader of the opposition, been given the courtesy of a call, a letter, a briefing, a conversation, a dialogue with any representative members of the IMF teams that have been to Barbados. I find this to be grossly out of order. I do not know how this particular initiative proposed for this afternoon has originated, if it comes out of the bosom of the government or the bosom of the IMF. It doesn't matter. My beef today is not with the government. Let me make that clear. My beef today is with the IMF. And I will not today participate and sit down in any meeting with them after 3.5 years of not hearing one word from them.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too raise just mainly in response to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. I understand the sentiments, but I would wish to state very clearly that the request is that of the International Monetary Fund, and it's not the government of Barbados. I know he's not taking issue with the government of Barbados, but I'm just indicating, just for clarity, that yes, negotiations have been ongoing, discussions have been ongoing, but this is very specific to Parliament and what we will be discussing in terms of the agenda, of which the honourable members should be well aware, having, just like all the rest of us, received similar correspondence. We are looking at the role of Parliament in discussing and approving the preparation of the budget, which committees or the plenary are involved. We will also be discussing the role in discussing the supplementary budgets and the in-year environments, the role in fiscal responsibility frameworks, for example, reviewing the fiscal strategy report, the role of the Public Accounts Committee in scrutinizing reports of the Auditor General and challenging accounting officers, government on the execution of their budgets as well. We are also looking at the level of discussion around the audit reports which are submitted and tabled by the external auditor, and finally following up on the Attorney General's findings and recommendations. So that is really essentially a summary of what is the proposed agenda. It is nothing that is untoward. It is nothing that is getting into the details of any negotiations by the wider government. But really more, I would have to say, from my own reading of this, it is more procedural. And the honourable member is free, if he so chooses not to attend, but I would like the record to reflect that he has in fact been invited, and his participation is more than welcome, even if to indicate to the IMF directly that he would have wished a greater level of engagement with himself. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I've heard the honourable member quite clearly, and I would just like to reiterate, to repeat for clarity, because I did say my beef today is not with the government in this instance. I do not know where the initiative originates, either with the IMF or with the government. That does not matter. My problem is with the IMF and the fact that after 3 years, 3 years and some months, I am now to attend a meeting with the IMF, having not had the benefit of a single word from them. Not a report formally submitted to the Office of the Opposition, not a briefing, not a letter of query, nothing. And therefore, I will not sit with them today. And that has nothing to do with the government. That has to do with the International Monetary Fund itself. This government, if I recollect correctly, has boasted more than once of the privilege it had of interacting with the IMF when in opposition. 3.5 years, and not a single word from anyone representing the IMF here in Barbados. I will not sit with them today. My beef is not with the government in this, it is with them.
Messages from Her Excellency, the Governor General.
You agree with that, don't you?
Well, I think, yes, sir. Petitions, papers.
Honourable Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm commanded to lay the amendments to the Defence Officers Amendment Regulations 2021 and the Barbados Defence Force Reserve Amendment Regulations 2021, as well as the Civil Aviation Aerodrome Certification Amendment Regulations 2021. I'm also commanded to lay the annual report of the Barbados Prison Service for the financial year ended 2019. I am commanded to lay the annual report of the Barbados Investment and Development Corporation for the period April 1st, 2019 to March 31st, 2020, as well as the instruments adopted by the International Labour Organization, Protocol of 2014 to the Forced Labour Convention 1930, the Forced Labour Supplementary Measures Recommendation 2014, the Transition from the Informal to the Formal Economy Recommendation 2015, and the Employment and Decent Work for Peace and Resilience Recommendation 2017. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I'm commanded to lay the financial statements of the Transport Authority for the year 2019 to 2020.
Government notices, private members' notices, notices of questions, first readings of bills. Your Honor.
Honourable Member for St. Joseph.
Mr. Speaker, I have the tremendous honor to move the first reading of the Constitution Amendment Bill of 2021. This bill is the bill that will take us to Republican status and represents the beginning of an important moment in our history. Beg to move this bill be read the first time.
The question is that the aforementioned bill be read here first time. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
Speaker, I beg to move the first reading of the Prevention of Corruption Bill 2021.
The question is that the aforementioned bill be read here first time. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the first reading of the Remediation Agreements Deferred Prosecutions Bill 2021.
The question is that the aforementioned bill be read here first time. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the first reading of a further Constitution Amendment Bill 2021.
The question is that the aforementioned bill be read here first time. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
Yes. Statements by ministers, congratulatory and/or obituary speeches, personal explanations, motions for leave of absence, oral replies to questions, notices of motions for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance, orders of the day.
Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of standing orders 6, 16, 18, 20, 42, subsection 5, 43, and 44 for the remainder of the day's sitting.
The question is that the aforementioned standing orders be suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. The aforementioned standing orders are hereby suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting.
Government business, sir.
Government business is the order of the day.
Order number 4, sir. In the name of the Honorable Minister of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy, to move the second reading of the Facilitation of International Maritime Traffic Bill 2021.
Honourable Member St. Michael South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Of course, it gives me great pleasure, sir, to move this particular bill. Sir, over the course of the next few months and certainly over the course of the next few years, this House will see a significant increase in the amount of bills that will be brought before it, sir, as it relates to shipping. And I think this is important, sir, because it says to the country, it says to the world, it says to us that we are treating seriously the issues, sir, in shipping that previously were not being treated to. When the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Blue Economy was created, sir, it was, in a way, an amalgamation of some existing departments. And I think it's important to note that in a lot of cases, sir, as I speak to the wisdom in the PM in creating such a ministry, in many cases, sir, a lot of the entities under the previous ministry, sir, were not given their due. So we had a situation, sir, where markets and fisheries, for example, were under agriculture. And in that instance, sir, agriculture would be spoken of more often by far than issues pertaining to fisheries. And we, sir, have made fisheries an important pillar in the way we do business. There's also the same case, sir, with markets. We've made markets an important pillar in the way we do business to correct a lot of the deficit that would have existed in relation to how we were treated into markets. It was also the same thing, sir, with coastal zone. We've now integrated coastal zone into our physical development planning to the extent that anything done in this country, sir, must have the comment, sir, of the coastal zone management unit. Recognizing that we are living in an environment, sir, where climate change is upon us, and that these decisions that we make cannot be made lightly, sir, and that we must state the comments of those who are concerned about the coast and the environment. And of course, the same is true for shipping. Shipping was tied to tourism under international transport. And so a number of areas in shipping that should have been addressed were not addressed. And I have the privilege, sir, of having a small but very competent shipping unit, sir, with persons with extreme talent and knowledge in this area. And what we saw wasn't that we didn't have the talent here, sir, but that the former government, predominantly in the last few years, but other governments too as well, if I'm being honest, did not pay attention to shipping in the way that we should have paid attention to shipping. And as a consequence, sir, we found ourselves behind in areas that we really should not now be behind in. And so that is why over the next few weeks, months, years, you will see a radical turnaround, sir, in the legislation that governs our shipping industry. And I will speak to some of them shortly. You will see Barbados taking a stance internationally in shipping, being recognized as a shipping nation of worth and of value over the next few years, sir. I have already made it clear to my staff that I wish to have a position where, in relation to how this whole process is governed, that Barbados is on that governing body. And so, Mr. Speaker, sir, there are many people who ask, why are we even having a conversation about shipping? You know, shipping may not be for many people on the backs of their minds. Many people may not get up on a morning and say, Minister, why are you doing this work in shipping? In fact, many people do not even understand the international issues related to shipping. But, sir, you know, the food that we eat predominantly comes here by ships. Most of the clothes that we wear, sir, through the Bridgetown port. Certainly, sir, if we did not think that shipping was important, so even if we go all the way back, most of us of color, and predominantly, sir, maybe all of us know the way the world is, came here not by our choice, but we came here by boat, at the bottom chained. And, sir, we too were cargo at some point in our history. So that the genesis of our own reality in the Caribbean region is an understanding of shipping. And one of the things that has troubled me primarily, sir, as minister, is that bridge, I shouldn't even call it a bridge because we don't cross it, but the pathway between Africa and the Caribbean by sea seemed to have been closed after the Europeans stopped moving black people as cargo. And that we have to have a relationship with Africa to be able to reimagine, sir, and you will hear that word perhaps a few times in this speech, reimagine our relationship, not only with Africa, but reimagine our relationship in shipping. And so that is why when we established embassies and so on, diplomatic relations with Africa, and people were asking why, I could not understand it. We need to have relationships with Africa, sir. It goes back to the core of who we are. And, sir, the Bridgetown Port has a relationship with the Port of Ghana, the Port of Kenya, because these things are going to be vital, sir, if we seek to reimagine shipping. But if you do not think that our historical perspective, or the one that I just offered, is of value, sir, COVID should tell us that we now really need to think seriously about shipping. Because, sir, during the height of COVID, and even now, but during the height of COVID, and certainly in the beginning of COVID, the disturbance in shipping and supply chains meant some countries could not even get food, sir. They couldn't get medication. Of course, we also saw that thing that troubles me most when it comes to international relations, where the big countries do as they wish. You know, things meant for small island developing states, sir, you are familiar with these things. These big countries holding on to your mask and your respirators and all kinds of things. That is why I feel that we really got to reopen that relationship with Africa and build our own pathway. But during the height of COVID, many of us, sir, could not get access to these things. And the consequence of that, sir, is that we've seen in shipping an exponential increase in the cost of things. So if you do not understand shipping, sir, understand that the food you eat, sir, is going up because of issues in shipping. As a matter of fact, during COVID, you know, one of the biggest concerns we had in Barbados, across the world, but in Barbados and in the Bridgetown Port, was that the containers, because you don't really own the containers. Containers come, they bring your stuff, and you have to get them back out in a certain time. But because many of the ports across the world were closed because of COVID, you couldn't get out the containers. These things started to incur such costs. You understand? That you cannot tell people that I can't get out your container because the port is closed. They incurred costs. And of course, at the end of the day, that cost is passed on to everybody who consumes, which is, at the end of the day, all of us. And so we saw, during the height of COVID, that a conversation on shipping is going to be important. Also, we saw, sir, that you have to have the capacity to be resilient and to do other things, to be able to feed yourself. And so this conversation on whether or not we should be looking at shipping and facilitating shipping, sir, is also a conversation about feeding ourselves. And that is why when I look at the honorable member to my right, the member for St. Philip South, I am so proud of the work he is doing in agriculture to be able to ensure that Barbados can feed itself. And when I bring next few weeks, sir, in relation to fisheries, what we are doing to be able to ensure that we allow fish, or Barbadians to have access to fish for generations to come. Because we also have to look at how we are going to be able to feed ourselves. So if the history doesn't appeal to you, I know it appeals to you, sir, but I mean to other people. Or if it is that the reality of COVID doesn't make it obvious that we have to pay some attention to shipping, sir. Just the other day, I think it was March, or April, I think it was March, where we had the blockage in the Suez Canal. Suez Canal. Where that canal, sir, is 193 kilometers to the best of my recollection. And it was blocked by a ship that was 400 meters. And for a week, nothing could pass. And in that week, sir, so many ships were blocked up. That resulted, sir, in months of delay. People being able to get access to goods and to services. Fruit and vegetables, sir, on board some of those vessels going off. Medicines. All kinds of things, sir. Simply because we had a blockage, sir. So when we think about shipping, do not think about shipping as the intellectual pursuit of a few. We have to consider shipping for what it is. It is the way most of us will eat. It is the way most of us will clothe ourselves, sir. It is the way most of us will get our medication. Even if it is flown into Barbados, you best believe at some point it was on a ship from some place to some place. And that is why, sir, I think it is going to be very important for us to look at shipping, sir. And when we came to office, it is important to note, sir, the state of shipping. What did we come and find? And I say that, sir, recognizing, as I said very early, that this happened for over a number of governments. This is not just happened in the last administration, but it got worse, sir. The neglect was severe. And I was almost in tears from laughter when I heard a person who was on the other side, or trying to be on the other side, didn't work out well for him, but when I heard him suggesting that the International Maritime Organization, sir, which is what all of us who sign on to issues in international shipping are members and are a party to, when he was suggesting, sir, in relation to Barbados and what Barbados is doing, sir, in shipping and our role, that when they stood in England, sir, dealing with the same IMO, the IMO had a reason to suggest that Barbados was not even attending its meetings. We were not even sending enough representation. They could not get a full understanding of the role of Barbados, sir. Again, this was not because of the staff. This is ministerial lack of direction. A tragedy of the highest order, sir. And so when we came into office, we found a situation where it was clear to me and to the staff that we needed to do something to reimagine shipping. And I don't want to say it, sir, in a way that would suggest we are just doing this for doing this sake. I want to know that when a man gets a food, that it comes to his plate at the best possible cost and price. And so we want to be able to make sure people could eat at a reasonable cost, and that Barbadians could live, sir, at a reasonable cost as well. So we were behind, sir, on a number of issues. And Barbados had the privilege, I suppose, of being audited in June 2018. We just come into government. And during the course of that audit, the audit revealed that Barbados was not compliant, I should say, but I normally use the word Barbados failed, but not compliant, or not up to scratch, sir, in about 22 to 23 areas, sir. A lot of it in the legislation, some administrative, some in terms of the positions that we need to create, because if you're talking about shipping, you're going to need new jobs, sir, new skills. But what we found, sir, after the audit, was that Barbados had fallen down in a number of areas. And that the reason we fell down, sir, is because, as I mentioned earlier, we were not giving the kind of attention to this area that we should, that we must, sir. And not only because it is the dictate of some international organization, because I don't feel anybody should be exerting pressure on me that I can't exert pressure on. And that is why the staff knows very well that we have to have a meaningful role in this organization to influence. But when, sir, the audit was done, sir, there were all of these areas where Barbados fell short. This is June 2018, so this certainly has nothing to do with this particular administration. I gave the commitment, sir, that we will attend to these areas that we fell down in, sir, and one by one, slowly over time, sir, step by step, we will correct them. And that is what we have been working on, sir, to be able to correct them. In 2020, sir, I took a paper to Cabinet. And in that paper, sir, we spoke to a new national policy on international shipping. And, sir, that policy basically sets the framework, the guidelines for the direction in which Barbados must go as we seek, sir, to reimagine maritime. And a lot of things were laid out, sir, a number of pieces of legislation, the things that I feel that we have to do. And so, over the next few weeks, one by one, legislation in this department, legislation, sir, that will seek to bring meaningful change in the lives of people. A significant amount of the work that we have to do, sir, is to ensure that the average Barbadian, sir, has a role in shipping. And that these things, as I said, do not remain the exclusive purview of a few. Barbadians have to have a role, sir, in shipping and to be able, sir, to benefit from it. That is why we have to reimagine maritime. That is why we have to create, sir, a situation whereby people would want to do business with Barbados. And, sir, overall, if you're going to be reimagining maritime, it has to be that we are able to do it well. Barbados has to become better, more efficient, more cost-effective, a hospitable place for people to be able to do business, sir. And that is the role that the FAL, sir, and the FAL, sir, just the brief, is not an acronym, sir. It's just FAL, the Facilitation of International Maritime Traffic, is normally referred to as FAL. And that's the role, sir, that the FAL would have to play or help us play, sir. Importantly, as we seek to reimagine maritime. So in 1948, when the International Maritime Organization was created, Barbados, I'm told, joined in 1970. We agreed to a number of things and a number of terms. And like any international organization, sir, you aim to be able to meet because you sign on to these agreements as any international agreement. And your desire, sir, is to be able to meet these agreements, sir, these terms that you would have signed on to be able to make sure that if in the case you are audited, you don't fail, but more importantly, that you create a modern, relevant department on one hand, but ethos and a way and state of doing business in that area. And we signed on too, sir. Barbados did. And we have done for a number of years, sir, the things that we are required to do. My colleagues in cabinet would tell you that very often I'm bringing a paper for the staff to attend a meeting of some kind of the International Maritime Organization. Of some kind. Because your presence, sir, at these things matter. People feel, sir, that when public servants travel or when MPs travel, that we're traveling for traveling's sake. Understand that once you are not at the table, you have no say. The other thing is, sir, once you attend the big meetings, which people call the big meetings, the decision's done made. It is in the working meetings that you really have to have your presence felt. And if Barbados is to be recognized as a powerful maritime nation, sir, we have to be attending these meetings. I was at, I think it was a General Assembly meeting, and I saw, sir, people, I mean, if you see the way people horse traded trying to get a position on this International Maritime Organization, is almost like bribes. You know, when you go to this meeting, people showing up, they're offering you bags and pens and sugar, all kinds of things to support them in their bid to be on these international things. And the reason that they want to do that, sir, is because, one, it says to the rest of the world that they're a serious nation in maritime, but two, they get to influence decisions. And Barbados must not remain a decision taker. No. We must become decision makers, sir, at the highest level as it relates to shipping. And, sir, that is why I am thankful, sir, that we are putting ourselves in a position, and I had hoped that this would have been the year, but true thing with COVID, it set us back. But the amount of legislation that we are passing, sir, the changes that we are making in the Bridgetown port that I will speak to, the things that we have done and are doing, the changes that I hope we can make to our ship registry, again, I will speak to that as well. These things will say to the rest of the world, Barbados is rising. I'm stealing from the Honorable Member for St. John. Barbados rise as a serious maritime nation. And I am proud, sir, to have had the opportunity, I shouldn't say have had, I'm still here, to have the opportunity, sir, to be the minister responsible at a time of such transformation. And that is the best word, sir, to define it. It is a period and it is a time of transformation. I really want, before I go any further, to thank the staff in the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Blue Economy. I have if you may allow me, sir, to just say I have my two most senior members in that department here, the Chief Technical Officer and the legal consultant, who soon will be Director of Maritime. And who have done such yeoman service for this country, sir, over such a short space of time. I also must thank them, sir, because I feel as if in 3 years, I have no understanding of affairs in shipping that one may get the impression, sir, that I am some professional, studied in it. but that is just by sitting at the feet of the men and women in that department, sir, who school me, and in whose arms, sir, metaphorically, sir, I have rested with the assurance, sir, that when we say we are going to do something, sir, it is going to be done. Barbados will become a powerhouse as it relates to issues in maritime. Sir, sir, there are a number of things that we have to do, sir. And in that policy that I spoke of, sir, the national policy on international shipping, we laid out a vision for the country. Very clearly laid out, sir. I will not go through all of it now, but very clearly laid out. And that we know, for example, sir, that we have to do something with our ship registry. We also know that we have to correct certain deficiencies. We also know that we have to address the IMO audit. We knew that we had to separate domestic shipping from international shipping. Our shipping legislation, sir, was a hodgepodge of everything. So that the legislation that guided our domestic shipping, guided our international shipping, we are separating the two, sir. And you will see those pieces of legislation coming here. So that previously, the legislation that was meant to guide jet skis was also the legislation that was guiding our ships over 150 tons. And so there were things in there that did not relate. You understand? There were things in there that were so out of sync, sir. People picking up our legislation in some far-off country, they don't want to hear about some of these smaller things. And the people in Barbados, sir, don't necessarily want to be bogged down with all of those things. We've separated them and kept that which is relevant, sir, in the separate legislation. The operators of jet skis, for example, would tell you, because we went through, in our domestic legislation, we went through so many meetings with the jet ski operators. Persons who operate watercraft, I should say, but a lot of jet ski operators. Meeting after meeting after meeting. I ran into one. I was in St. Michael South, and he drove by me, and he stopped, and he reached out, sir, and he said he wanted to shake my hand, but you know, in this environment, we knock. So I gave him a knock, and I said, but what happened? And he said he was so thankful because no ministry, no minister before has ever taken the time to meet with them the way that we have been meeting with them as jet ski operators, sir. And then he whipped out his little badge. You remember? He whipped out his little badge, sir, because before, I mean, the little things matter to people. We got to get the little things right. Before, sir, imagine jet ski operators had to go to sea with a paper that they were given to say they have a license. They would fold it up, put it in a plastic bag or something, put that plastic bag then in another plastic bag, and take it on their jet ski, because if the Coast Guard were to pull them over, they had to show that they had a license. So we created, obviously, a very nice, cute, functional, waterproof ID card, sir, that they take out to sea with them. He was so thankful that we were able to put him in a position, sir, where he did not find himself having to explain to the Coast Guard why he did not have his license, because he also feared it would get wet and fall apart. So it is in the little things, sir, by creating a ministry focus, sir, on getting some of these things right, things that are important to people. And the relationship between persons on the sea, as is the case with the average citizen sometimes, and the people who are enforcing the laws, is not always necessarily good. So we've reduced those tensions, sir. And then we've also been able to create relationships at the level between the Marine Police, the Coast Guard, sir, and some of these persons, sir. I'm saying, sir, building relationships, whether it is at the local level or the international level, is going to be so important. That is why we are talking about facilitation. And I don't mean to say, sir, that we are only going to be doing facilitation for the international level. We have to do facilitation at the local level as well. And in our legislation, sir, to come, when I came into office, sir, we were looking, and it's in our manifesto, we wanted to address the ship registry. The ship registry, sir, currently has a few ships on it, sir. It's been doing very well to a certain extent, but I feel like we need to do more to get more ships registered with Barbados. More ships, sir, because it has the potential to generate a significant amount of revenue for Barbados. People ask me where I see money for Barbados, revenue generation, job opportunity, sir, in shipping. We get the ship registry right, sir, we can generate so much more revenue for Barbados. Ships that would come, and because ships have to be assigned a nationality, and so they pay to fly your flag when they're sailing. If we can have more ships wanting to use the Barbados flag, we get significant more revenue from it. But we also have to have in place the legal framework. That is why we're here, to be able to attract those ships. We also, not only do we need the legal framework, sir, but we also are going to need, sir, the capacity to monitor those ships. And you don't want to have these low-end ships, sir, these high-risk ships, doing these high-risk maneuvers. Again, the Barbadian good name tie-up. We have to be able, sir, to attract proper ships. This legislation, sir, as part of our series and suite of legislation, sir, because when it's done, it's going to be comprehensive. These things, sir, will make a significant difference to Barbados, sir. And of course, sir, when it comes to flag performance, that is how you are performing in relation to maritime safety, security, marine pollution prevention, and maritime labor safety. The Honorable Minister responsible for labor, who has a great affinity for the work that we have been doing of late, who, sir, would tell you that when we send bills to him, they are often long and involved. But whose comment, sir, on these bills, sir, is of such import to us, sir, and adds such value. Because people would say, y'all want to create this thing and, give people low-end jobs. That's not the intention. We also, sir, we don't only want to create more jobs. We want to create better jobs. Yeah. And we also want, sir, to protect people who get those jobs, so that we are not putting Barbadians on ships to be treated in any way by anybody. And, sir, when we make the adjustments even to our own legislation, sir, we are saying we have to have a clear, concise way for resolving disputes and settling these conflicts that allows Barbados to be involved, so that you cannot mistreat Barbadians when we do start to get more and more Barbadians on board these vessels, sir, over time. And there is, in shipping, the STCW, the Standards of Training, Certification, and Watchkeeping. It is a training that most people now must go through to work on a ship. Back in the day, so when we have the Seamen's Day, I think it's in November or October, when we meet with the seamen, sir, normally once a year, near the end of the year, soon. And I meet with the older seamen, sir. We did a video called Men of Honor, where we interviewed some of these seamen, sir. I feel this should be required watching for all Barbadians. The Honorable Minister responsible for information, I must have a word with him and have him air these things more frequently. I hear the stories of men in shipping. Current one. To hear these stories, sir, of men involved in shipping. Because the reality is, sir, back in the day, you could leave home. I mean, there were so many, but there was one in particular where the gentleman said, these are elderly gentlemen, but they tell stories of their youth. And in the way that men's eyes tend to sparkle when they remember their glory days, especially as we get down the hill, we talk about the things we were once able to do that we no longer can do. Sir, in shipping. And these men, sir, told stories of going down to the harbor, looking for a job. Some say they left home. They didn't even tell the mother. They know they're going looking for a job. The man say, I got space, we moving now. And so you left home one morning and you on a ship the afternoon time and you gone. That's how it was. And so we had seamen all over Barbados, sir. The constituency that I represent, the St. Michael South, sir, the great constituency of St. Michael South, according to the member for St. Peter, again, the men and women who put me here, sir, the great constituency of St. Michael South, sir, is loaded with seamen, men who grew up on the sea because of the proximity of the Bayland area to the sea. And the stories that are told of just the opportunities and how simple it was, and of course the hardship. And I also feel, sir, as we prepare young people for new employment, I know there's some young people in here, as we prepare young people for employment, sir, I believe this kind of intergenerational exchange of ideas and knowledge is going to be important. Because perhaps in some ways, sir, we've created an environment, sir, where we think things are always easy and they're not. And I've had friends, sir, who've gone away on scholarships in sports, football, a lot of them from the Pine like me. And at the first piece of hardship, because that's how we are, you know, men pack up and come home. And dealing with that, nobody ain't talking to me, so it's a fact. And we have to get to a point, sir, I mean, I don't want nobody disrespect nobody either, but at the same time, sir, we got to build up a little bit more in our people too. And to build the kind of strength and the fortitude, sir, to be able to push back on some of these things, and if it really gets overbearing, then you come home. But on these ships, sir, there are going to be jobs, sir, from the STCW training, sir, that we are doing, and I hope to have that training program rolled out in the shortest possible time. We've been working with the TVET, it is, Vocational Training Board, the NTI, National Training Initiative, National Transmission Initiative, sorry. We've also been working with the SJPI. I know we're doing a training program now with the Barbados Community College, by MAP as well. So we're doing all working to build out training. Because when we put persons on ships, it can't be that I just send in people to scrub decks and stuff. And I do hope that I get some of those jobs. And I will make sure every member in here, when the opportunity comes and this fast approaching, including my good friend who leads the opposition, sir, when these jobs start to come. Huh? A man without faith, sir, is in the wrong profession. Anyway, sir, the reality. Sorry, forgive me, sir. I really like the honorable leader of the opposition. So, sir, the reality is, sir, that we are looking to get jobs at every level. So that we want to put nurses who are trained in the STCW, doctors, because they all have to have it. STCW, just a few days of training. Once you've done that training, combined with your professional skills, sir, you're on board the ship. We've been talking to the ship, sir, and they want to have Barbadians. I mean, the reality is, sir, that there are still many people who haven't forgotten how good we've been. And for that reason, sir, I am confident, sir, the SCCW training, once it is in our legislation, because we have to embed it in our legislation, that is now too with the CPC. And that will be before this Parliament, sir, hopefully very soon too. And then we can certify persons, sir, in the SCCW and prepare more young people for jobs at sea. That is very much imminent, sir. And so I am happy to say, sir, that in a number of these areas, sir, we are doing all of the necessary and the right things. And, you know, if you then have, sir, these high-risk profiled ships, if you go back to the ship registry, sir, and you have these high-risk ships, then you're going to attract more and more attention, more and more negative attention. You have to be able, sir, to monitor what are the implications for your flag state, sir, for its registry. What are the implications for doing business? What are the implications for doing business, sir? Barbados, in the last doing business index, was ranked at 129 out of 170 countries. It is nothing that one would want to pat, your back about. 129 out of 170 countries. I suspect that is going to change soon. Of course, they're doing some adjustments to the way they do the doing business index. But in trading across borders, which would more reflect issues in maritime and issues in the port, Barbados was ranked at 132 out of 170 countries. So we were worse off. We were bad to start with, but worse off in trade across borders. Worse off. And so there is clearly a need for us to put some focus on issues pertaining to maritime. And I will speak very soon about the things that we are doing, sir, in the Bridgetown port, to be able to add value, sir, and to improve these statistics. But, I don't concern myself necessarily with how somebody else rate me. Right, truth. But if the reality is that because of the trade across borders index, trade across borders ranking and rating, it tells me that we are underperforming, and then that concerns me. It means that the people who are involved in the area, because that's how they do the evaluation, they send surveys to the people who do business in Barbados. So you're being guided and graded almost by your peers. They're saying that they don't think Barbados is up to scratch. Barbadians are saying they don't think Barbadians are up to scratch. So in this file, sir, which I will go through in some detail, sir, in the file bill, sir, we are putting ourselves in a position whereby when we are graded and evaluated by Barbadians, as is the case now, because we've already set up our single window and some are using it already and telling us already what a difference that it has made already. We know that we will see an improvement, but my concern is not about the rating. It is that I want to be able to do business on behalf of Barbadians at the best possible rate, sir, and in the shortest possible time. And it is going to mean, sir, that we have to learn some new behaviors. There are some things that we took almost for granted, that you could continue to do things the way we've done them. In some cases, we can. Some things we've held on to as sacred, but there are some behaviors, sir, that we're going to have to let go. Some things that are going to have to change. A number of things, sir, in shipping. And just generally, sir, how we do business. And the cost of it sometimes. Overtime cost and these things, sir. That at the end of the day, sir, when you look at the selling price of a product to you, you may, people go overseas and they see something for $10 and then it sells in Barbados for $29, $30. And they think that $10 is profit. But that's hardly often the case. Some cases, of course, because there are some businessmen whose only loyalty is to their bottom line at the expense of poor people. But I'm not speaking about them. At the end of the day, sir, you're dealing with all kinds of costs in between there. How do we keep those costs down? How do we make it practical and reasonable, sir, for people to be able to do business, sir, in Barbados? And when we look at the ships, sir, the ships must be able to fly the flag. And once a ship selects a registry, because they get to select a registry, they want to select one that is reputable, one that can manage it, one that can abide by the IMO conditions, sir. I'm not bringing a bill here on the IMO for the IMO, but I also know that if I want to be able to attract ships to Barbados, that Barbados must find itself in compliance with international standards. Inasmuch, sir, as the Minister for Agriculture and myself are working to make sure that when it comes to being able to export to the EU, we do so by bringing our standards up to international standards too. So that the amount of work that is being done, sir, is significant. And we have to get to the position, sir, whereby we find ourselves in that position. And so this suite of laws that we are bringing, when enacted, will elevate Barbados' reputation as a low-risk profile flag state. That's important. Because once we can do that, we start to attract more business. I can get more jobs for people, sir, for the young people as well. Sir, we would also, sir, be recognized, sir, as an IMO compliant state. So you see this idea about white lists and black lists, we make the white list. I really feel that there has to be some international conversation, though, still. About if I am good, I am white, and if I am bad, I am black. I don't know how that made me feel in my spirit. I really feel like that has to be a whole conversation in and of itself. But we make the white list. But we come here on a boat full of black people. But we made the white list. Fair enough. We made the IMO's white list, sir. And that would allow us to attract more business as well. And as you know, sir, it is not only Barbados, sir, that will be looking to become a flagship state in the Caribbean. But if we do all these things, sir, we get to separate ourselves from the rest of the Caribbean in some ways. Although I still feel very strongly, although it doesn't always appear that it's working out in our favor, but I feel very strongly, sir, about Caribbean unity. As a matter of fact, the Barbados Labour Party, sir, as a party, sir, that which governs us, our Constitution, still has as one of its fundamental principles for us to have regional unity. I think it's one of the few of any political parties in the region. So there's still much of who we are. I still feel very strongly about it. But just because I am with you, sir, it doesn't mean that I don't want to do my best too. Just like among my friends. I want all of us to do well, sir, but you're working extra hard, sir, because you want to be able to perform. And if you do well, and you do well, and if all of us do well, sir, as ministers and as MPs and as Speaker and Prime Minister, sir, and the brilliant job that the acting Prime Minister always does, sir, if all of us do our part well, then all of us rise. And that, sir, is the intention, sir. So we don't have a comprehensive but user-friendly maritime legislative framework for Barbados. And what do I mean by that, sir? I said earlier that our former shipping legislation was a hodgepodge. Everything thrown into one. We're separating it, sir. And very simply, if a vessel is 150 gross tons or below, the vessel will now have to comply with the Common Shipping Domestic Vessels Act and its regulations once that is passed. If the vessel, sir, is 150 tons, well, over 150 gross tons, the vessel will be subject to the IMO's International Labour Organization rules, sir. Very clear. It's very simple, and it's very clear. Based on your tonnage, you are either going to be subjected to our domestic legislations or that govern the domestic shipping regulations and laws, or you're going to be subjected, sir, to the ones that governs the international shipping. We will also have, sir, the Merchant Seafarers Act, which is coming. The Marine Transport Emissions Control Act, sir, which is also coming. Look, I am very concerned, sir, about marine pollution. And why am I relating that in relation to this FAL bill? Because once FAL is enacted, sir, the speed at which we are able to do transactions in the port, in Barbados and so on, is much faster. If it could get you in and out when you are polluting, first of all, we need to get down the pollution. We have to find a way to decarbonize these ships. But if you spend less time, then obviously you're doing less polluting. And, sir, we have to be able to move these ships a lot faster through the Bridgetown port, through Barbados' waters. So we will have, sir, the Shipping Domestic Vessels Suite of Laws, the Merchant Shipping Seafarers Suite of Laws, the Marine Transport Emissions Control Suite of Laws, sir, just to start. Just to start. So I am correcting, sir, through the work of the ministry, sir, a number of existing wrongs. We came to right to wrong, sir. And if we are going to reimagine maritime, sir, these are the things that we have to be able to say that we are doing on the international stage. And there will be a debate that we will have here when I bring the domestic shipping legislation, sir, that will speak to all things domestic. The FAL, sir, I'm just hinting at them now, but the FAL, sir, obviously is part of our international portfolio in a way. Still local, but dealing with the ships that call to our port. And, sir, it is for this reason, sir, that we have asked, and we're working on having what we call the accessions to a number of international conventions. We have to do it. Again, once you're being audited and people say it's like, human rights, you may say you are supporting human rights, but you won't sign on to any of them. Well, why hasn't Barbados acceded to some of these things? And there are significant numbers. And, sir, I've sent that to Foreign Affairs for comments. We've sent to the SG for comments. And very soon, Barbados will accede to a number of these things, sir, provided that Foreign Affairs and the SG's office agree. And then there's some work, sir, that we have to do with the continuous zone, the contiguous zone, sir, the continental shelf, the EEZ, territorial waters. Coast Guard has already told us that once we get the contiguous zone in place, it becomes easier for them to enforce legislation, sir. So when I start bringing all of these bits and pieces of legislation, sir, it is like a puzzle that we are slowly piecing together. So much work has been done in this space in the last few years, sir. So much work has been done in this shipping space, sir, as we build the legislative architecture that is necessary to be able to do the work that we are duty-bound to do. And, sir, let me move on, sir, to the FAL. Specifically, sir, as it relates to the FAL, sir, again, remember FAL is not an acronym of any kind, but it's just basically speaking to facilitation. When we look, sir, at the FAL, the purpose of this legislation that I have before the House is to give effect to the IMO's Convention on Facilitation of International Maritime Traffic, 1965. The main objective, sir, is to ensure that we have the most efficient maritime transport possible, facilitating the smooth transit of ship, cargo, passengers, and crew. So we want to be able to facilitate effectively everything basically that we do in relation to shipping. Sir, while this is a mandatory requirement, and it is important to note that it is mandatory because it's something that we signed on to do and we must do. I must also tell you, sir, that while other countries in the region, sir, are working on a single window as we are, no other country yet has been able to put it into legislation. Barbados will be the first country in the region, sir, to have put this into legislation, to have done this amount of work, sir, to have been so creative in their imagination as to how it should look, sir, to the extent that other countries have heard that we are working on our legislation and they want to see our draft to help them to build out their own draft, sir. So that Barbados becomes the first, sir. We've gone from a position where we were behind to a position where we are exhibiting leadership in this space, sir. So Barbados will become the first. And the way that we have imagined it, sir, as part of our single window, sir, because you have to create a single window. And the reality is now that when ships call to port, they have to submit documentation by paper. They submit documentation, sir, by paper. And they have to submit that documentation to a number of different people, to the port, to customs in Barbados, I think to JRCC too, health, just over and over, and these are lots and lots of things, But when we create these single windows, sir, as part of our file reach out, sir, you submit the intention when we get there, we're working to there, so you submit one time. The ships come, there's a single window, it's electronic, they submit one time, and it is sent to the various agencies, sir, the bits and pieces of information that they need. It then becomes a facilitation of business. That's why it's called FAB. Because it facilitates business, sir. It makes business faster. It makes it easier. It is the way to go, even outside of this, sir. The Cabinet of Barbados, before COVID, before we had any idea COVID was coming, didn't we all agree to do our work electronically? And I remember, sir, when I used to work with other ministers, either as a public servant or as an officer in the company helping out my friend. I remember cabinet days, people walking with big folders, even as we began. And you would have to print one cabinet paper. I can't remember how many times, but you'd have to print it, I think, for all the ministers and a couple extra copies. One cabinet paper. Wastage, wasting paper, wasting time, wasting public servants' time, increasing costs, and so on. And then at the end of the day, with all these things, some people who are very well disciplined, sir, have them kept in their libraries. But electronically, one time, you do it, you send the email, and everybody gets it. So what we're doing, sir, is facilitating the international maritime traffic, sir. It's going to make life a lot easier for all of us. In Barbados, sir, you would know, we have work, sir, that we continue to do with the Joint Regional Communication Center, JRCC. And as a safety precaution, we send the ACIS and the APIS, the Advanced Passenger Information System and the Advanced Cargo Information System. That information goes to JRCC as part of security. While we are working to test the single window, I feel it is critical and important that we do not tamper with that. Not for now. So we will have the information because we have a year of to be able to transition, and I do not want to meddle with that and get it wrong. So over the next few months, we're going to fine-tune it, sir, so some information goes to JRCC and the rest will go to our single window, but invariably it will go to JRCC, then to the various agencies. Ships will submit one time. That is so attractive to the persons in shipping. I mean, when I meet with people who are involved in shipping, sir, this is the question that they keep asking me about, When are you going to be able to do this thing, sir, and improve efficiency in business, sir? So that is where we are heading. And, sir, I am very pleased to say that while we will be the first, we also have one of the best. You know, there's another Caribbean country and a few, but there's one in particular that had built a single window. And it had the assistance of an international, well, a country, a big developed country in Europe. We built our single window in-house in the Bridgetown port. And that there is so much talent in Barbados and so much talent in the ministry and in the Bridgetown port. We built our single window in-house. And it is an improvement on the one that was built by the developed countries of the world. So that instead of having to re-enter the information when ships go into ours, because in the other one they have to re-enter every time, though they do it one time. When you go into ours, you enter your information, so it starts to automatically populate based on certain numbers. So that ships even have less work to do, sir. Ships will have less work to do when they come to Barbados because of the way we've adjusted ours to make it even better than what the Europeans built, sir, for somebody else. Barbados, sir, must reimagine maritime. And it is not going to be good enough to be good enough. We have, sir, to set the leadership as we have always done, sir, and that we are continuing now to do. And that is why, sir, we are happy to report, sir, that very soon, as part also of our port community system, whereby, sir, you have an airport security, community system, as you have as an airport community system, a seaport community system, where people who are involved in that community actually exchange information. You know, in Barbados, sir, we have all kinds of people doing business in the port. It's a community. And it makes it a lot easier if you have a port community system. So the file supports that community system. So that it's not only for the ships that come in from outside, it is persons who are here, the brokers, different agents, all being able to access this single window. And I've told you, sir, there are some people who have started using it already, and they report to me that it is a good and a pleasant thing. So that we are really doing a lot, sir, when it comes to being able to improve the maritime sector in Barbados. And sir, the key functions of the FAL, Port Community System, will be to remove the barriers to the just-in-time operations. And the just-in-time simply refers, sir, to processing improvements to reduce unnecessary waiting of ships. Nobody wants to rush to stand still. You run into a port, you try, and you know, sir, with ships and so on, when a ship says it wants to leave at 10:10, that ship wants to leave at 10:10. If you are provisioning that ship, your goods better be on board the ship long before 10:10 because they will move. So you don't want, sir, to have, once the ship gets here, you're not going through a whole set of papers. You have that information in advance. You do most of the processing, sir, in advance. And, sir, so what we're going to have as the benefits of the file, we're going to have reduced waiting times for the ships visiting at our berth, sir. They want this quick, efficient service, sir. You're going to have reduced fuel consumption. I feel it is going to be very important for all of us, sir. You know how Barbados feels. You know how this government feels about fossil fuel. You will have reduced consumption, sir, of fossil fuels. I must also tell you that the Bridgetown Port is working at being able to give the ships clean energy, so that even as they remain at berth, they are using clean energy, sir, and not polluting our waters. Of course, then you have less congestion, improved planning. Sir, all in all, this is brilliant. And it is important work for those of us who would want to say that we are involved in this space. Sir, I must also say on July 17th, 2019, at a social partnership meeting, the Prime Minister created, as her role as chair, a subcommittee to examine the efficiency of the Port of Bridgetown. And this is so important, sir, because if your port is not efficient, then designing a file and a single window and all that, sir, is to just put a system into a whole set of inefficiencies, like putting crystal clear water in a muddy pool. It changes nothing. And so we have to become more efficient in the port. So, sir, the first set of actions taken, sir, were meant to, over a 24-month period, to improve the performance of the Bridgetown Port. Over a 24-month period. Sir, some of the things that we saw in that 24-month period, I chair this social partnership subcommittee, sir. On it, we have representatives from the private sector being in shipping. We have representatives, sir, from health, immigration, customs. It is a system, sir, that everybody who's involved in the port working to make sure that we become a lot more efficient. And we have seen significant gains. We have members from the Taxi Association, the Chamber of Commerce, the Barbados Manufacturers Association. I mean, it is a comprehensive review of the way we are doing business, because you cannot make policy in isolation, and you certainly will not make sustainable change on your own. And if you understand anything about organizational behavior, if you have systems that are overly bureaucratic, sir, then it serves to stifle not only the product, but the persons who are producing as well. And that is why, sir, we have been working to make sure that we do a much better job than the work that was being previously done. So we developed the single window as part of it, sir. Sir, we also had in the port the development and design, sir, of, and I should have said, sir, we are going to work with JRCC because the port's efficiency and technological capacity is such that they could lend value and add value to other people. So while JRCC will receive the information first, the port will be working with JRCC to make sure that they're in a position, sir, to be ready when the time comes. We also set up an online establishment, sir, to allow people, sir, to come and jointly inspect cargo. So before you would have customs going one day, the port another day, port health then another day, so that you were delaying. We now created a joint inspection, sir. And to facilitate even further, a lot of that is using technology. Thank you so much. A lot of that is using technology. So that they now stand from their iPads, their tablets, and do what they previously could not, because they would have to leave physically the office and go and do these inspections. Sir, now we're doing a lot of that online. Being able to reduce, sir, the turnaround time significantly. We're paying for goods and services online. During the height of COVID, we were doing a lot of business online. And I think, sir, this is really the way to go as well. We're going to be securing some financing from CDB to help build out our port community system. The Bridgetown Port, sir, traditionally has been an area in which Barbados could feel proud. But I must say, I have never been more proud of any agency, sir, than I am now of the port, in relation to the work that they have done to make themselves leaner and greener over the last few years. I'm also extremely proud, sir, of the staff in the Bridgetown Port. And never must we forget that they were the ones who put themselves on the front line at a time when many people were too petrified at the thought of COVID to leave their houses. These men and these women were going to work in the daytime and in the nighttime to be able to help facilitate, sir, business in Barbados, sir. And when we came into office, because FAL is also about looking at security. When we came into office, sir, there were 52 cameras in the Bridgetown Port. 52. Of those 52 cameras, sir, 22 were not working when we came into office. We currently now have, so 22 minus 52 is what, 30? We currently now have 88 views in the Bridgetown Port, sir. Currently. Phase 2, which is being implemented now, will see an additional 117 cameras being put in the Bridgetown Port, sir. So we are talking about where we had 30 cameras, we will have approximately 200 cameras in the Bridgetown Port. Tell me that we are not taking security seriously, sir. So with those 200 or most cameras, sir, in the Bridgetown Port, I can easily say to you, sir, that we will have probably the most advanced monitoring and tracking system utilizing artificial intelligence to produce the kind of analytics, sir, that would allow us to optimize security and general operations. In fact, sir, there was an operation done in the port. I won't get into the details of it. But using this kind of technology, sir, we're able to track movement in the still of the night, sir. Capture people up to all kinds of things that they should not be up to in the middle of the night. But what it tells me is that these are the things that were happening before we introduced this kind of artificial intelligence, sir. Those men were brought before the court. We ain't playing. Those men, sir, were brought before the court. And some of the things, sir, that people were doing as part of this, sir, because our new scanner was able to pick up contraband in a tank. Before the new scanner that we bought, the port bought a scanner for $20 million. Since we came into office, that scanner was able to pick up the contraband in a tank, in a container, that previously we could not have picked up. That's one. Of course, when we held the guy who was up to his dastardly behavior, we were able then to find some additional things. But we also found drugs attached to the hull of a ship, sir. So that the port, using its technology, has been able to solve some of these things, sir. So by December 21, the port will have the most advanced CCTV system in the entire country. The most advanced CCTV system in the entire country. It is the use of these technologies, sir, operated by the port, which has been exposed to all kinds of training and specialized training, sir, that has resulted in the interdiction of about $1 million in contraband in the last month alone. We were able, sir, to interdict about $1 million in contraband in the last month alone. That is because of the systems that we, sir, have put in place. We, sir, are taking this security thing extremely seriously. We have gone from having 30 functional cameras to having about 200, sir, by the end of the year. From having a system, sir, that would be the joke of people who were taking it seriously, to having the most sophisticated system, we believe, by the end of this year, sir. So that when I say to you, sir, that we are not playing, we are not playing. As part of our wider efficiencies too, sir, there used to be a time where the truck turnaround time in the port, when you send a truck to collect your items, it would take 70 minutes. We are down to 40 minutes. We cut that time almost in half. But they know, if they were here, that I want that time to go down to 30 minutes. That we have to do it safely, clinically, and do it in a secure manner, sir, but efficiently and fast. Get people in and get people out, sir. The significant reduction in the length of time, sir, that it takes to do this business, sir, and we have been able to reduce 90% of the paper. 90% of the paper that is being used in the port or was being used in the port, sir, we've been able to reduce. And that which used to take us 10 days, the dwell times for containers and so on, now takes us 6 days. And before COVID hit, we were heading to 4 days. So that there is movement, sir, in Barbados. And that when I talk to you about facilitation, I am not talking about talking sake for talking sake. I am talking, sir, because we have radically transformed the port. And that we have done so, sir, in a way that the members of the personnel in the port, sir, also feel extremely proud about the work that they have been able to do. And I must also say it is because of this work. It is because of this work, both the physical security and the cyber security, because remember, FAL is a maritime security convention. It is because of this that the Bridgetown Port was again this year re-elected as the chair of the Technical Advisory Committee on Port Security under the OAS, sir. And they have asked the port to come and do a presentation on the work that we are doing in the Bridgetown Port, not only for the Caribbean, but for all of the members of the OAS. So that in every manner, in every regard, we have not only treated seriously to security, we have also treated seriously to training and invariably and ultimately to efficiency. So if we go through the terms of the file, sir. As with any bill, Clause 1 cites the Act as the facilitation of maritime international traffic. In Clause 2, sir, we list the definitions and terms of use in the bill. Clause 4, sir, will specify that the Act shall apply to all passenger and cargo ships that are of coastal and non-coastal states, the governments of which are party to the convention. So we're also going to be establishing a national maritime transport facilitation program for standard setting, sir. It is going to be so important as we do all this work, sir. You have to set standards, and vision. They say that if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. But we can't take any road because we have to know where we are going. And so we are setting this maritime transport facilitation program for standard setting in relation to the formalities, documentary requirements, the procedures which should be applied on the arrival, stay, and departure of ships. And that maritime facilitation program, sir, will set the standard, as I said. But it will look at things in relation to the ship, the crew, the passengers, baggage and cargo, freight, containers, goods, human remains. Sir, we have to harmonize the formalities, sir. Create, as we have already started to do, a paperless system. These are the things, sir, that we are hoping to achieve in this bill before this House, sir. And there can be nothing, sir, I suppose, but praise for the staff in the ministry, sir, who've done the work, and for the port who will continue to execute this work. Sir, beyond the program, we have also to create a national maritime transport facilitation committee to help develop that program. Persons who have the know-how, sir, to help us build out a serious maritime program, sir, as we reimagine maritime. And I said as I began, sir, that I strongly believe, I really do, that our work in the maritime space, sir, could be that next frontier of growth and development for Barbados, sir. I really do. And, of course, because our architecture was so underdeveloped, it is going to be important to build the architecture, as we are now doing, in relation, sir, to as well as we build the institutional capacity, as well as we build the physical institutions, sir, to be able to do that work. Clause 8, sir, of the bill will speak to the functions of the Barbados port in relation to the maritime single window. And the port will be responsible, as it stands, for upgrading, for maintaining the single window, but we will work with GRCC now to do so, sir. And it also will look at establishing and maintaining a monitoring, review, and evaluation mechanism, sir, for the ships that are arriving, staying, departing from the port. We are making it so easy to do business in Barbados. And at the same time, as I've gone through some lengths in this presentation to explain, we are not compromising security when we do so. We, sir, would also be applying the principles of efficiency, security, and convenience, treating humanely, because this is very important. You got to treat people right. Treating humanely and protecting passengers, crew, seafarers, stowaways who are on board ships engaged in an international voyage or staying in and departing from the port. So that when a man is on board the port, even if he is a stowaway, you have to treat humanely to that person, sir. I must say, when I was reviewing the file, every now and then my mind kept racing to slavery. The truth is true. I couldn't separate my mind from just thinking about slavery all the time. My mind kept going back to people being moved in the most inhumane conditions as cargo. And that there's still some cases, sir, where people try to treat to other people, well, not so blatantly most of the time, but sometimes, but treat to people as if they are nothing more than cargo. And that we are making sure, sir, that we treat humanely to people, all kinds of people, sir, when they're on board the ship. When we bring the seafarers legislation and we go through the details, sir, of that. I know the Honorable Member for St. Peter, he's probably there waiting, can't wait, sir, to have it. But when we look at what we're doing for people, for seafarers, for Barbadians who will be on board those ships, all of which I can't get into today, sir. But when we look at what we're going to be doing for those seafarers, sir, it is going to be that when we put people on ships, we're not just setting people out as if Barbados stops its representation for Barbadians when they get off the plane in another country or a boat in another country, As a matter of fact, Barbados has been so kind as to extend the most hospitable, kind treatment to people who probably had never seen Barbados before during COVID, sir. We were able to treat the people humanely, which is extremely important, sir. Remains one of the things, sir, as Minister, of which I am extremely proud. The way we conducted ourselves during the most trying times, sir. And they say the measure of a man is known, sir, when he's being tested, sir, by those fires. The former Prime Minister Arthur used to always say, the best blaze, the strongest blaze are forged in the hottest fires. The best steel, it is true, forged in the hottest fires. And, sir, so we displayed, sir, the kind of compassion as a country that can only be rooted in principle. You can't pretend to be good that kind of way. I also know that what is inside a person invariably, eventually will come out. You could only pretend for so long. And the way we conducted ourselves, sir, at the beginning and the middle and even now during COVID tells me that Barbados is a principle-driven nation driven by a principle-driven government. That is what it tells me, sir. And, sir, we approach this whole process, sir, fearless and fair. Treating to people not as cargo, but as people. And making some important determinations, sir, that some people probably did not fully understand, sir, at the time, sir, but in retrospect, sir, hopefully they appreciate the actions that the government was taking, sir. Clause 11 of the bill, sir, specifies the documents as outlined in the FAL Convention. I said to you before, sir, this is in the second schedule. I said to you, sir, that there are a number of documents that have to be submitted one by one by one. And what we are doing, sir, is creating a system where you just submit one time. And everything is done. And this lists the documents, sir, that will be necessary. Clause 11, subparagraph 4 of the bill is consistent with the FAL Convention. It makes provision, sir, for the transitional period to allow for the submission of the required information for the clearance of processes both in paper and electronic. I said, sir, we have a 12-month transition period. Because it is noted that we are not going to get it right the first time. It would be unwise to start this system and cut off everything else that you knew. That is what happens, sir, when young people sometimes don't have regard for older knowledge. You get a little information, sir, and you cut off everything else that somebody else could know. I remember, sir, I was driving through St. Andrew before I knew the honorable member for St. Andrew so personally. And my car, that time I used to drive a black Maybach Mitsubishi. It was a fast car. I can drive too pretty neither. Because as one of the men to get my license as a big man. Because I had to wait till I had a job to pay for my lessons. But I was driving through St. Andrew, sir. And I took a road and my car just ran off the road, like barely the back left tire. I put sticks, I tried all kind of things to get this thing back on the road, sir. This is just a little story about knowledge and why it is important. And I put sticks and all kind of things. I reversed, I went forward, I put a grip. There was an old woman sitting in the window, sir, looking through this thing at me. Just sitting down there, just waiting for me. I couldn't get this thing, so I went and I asked her if I could get a phone call because at that time, in a big band of cell phones, I asked for a phone call. She asked me for what? I said, I want to call somebody to help me with my tire because I can't get it on. She said, you want help? I said, yes, I would like some help. She said, well, you don't ask for the help. And she called, I guess, a son or a grandson. They had seen that so many times that in about 3 seconds, with the knowledge that they had, twist the car this way, position this thing this way, it was out the thing like it was never an issue. But in my youthful exuberance, I was young at the time, and I imagine lack of regard for people who know, which is a fault, sir, that cripples many of us. My lack of regard for those who knew, I end up there now for about an hour, 2 hours, I sweating, I frightened. You know, when you're trapped in certain places, you start to panic. Hollywood has made a mess of our minds, you know. So I panicking, and this lady came, sir, with her knowledge, sir. It is an error. It is an error that is made and repeated. It has been repeated recently, too, in Barbados. For you to start a system and immediately end the other system. You then shut off yourself from all of the old capacity, all of the old know-how. No matter what new know-how you get, sir, you can always benefit from those who were there before you. And I want to take advantage of that transitional period, sir, to allow me to work with the people who have the knowledge in that space, to be able to move from having to spend 2 and 3 hours trying to figure out something for people who know, come and solve it for me in 4 and 5 seconds. That is why, sir, I have chosen to take advantage of this transitional period. And I'm pretty sure in their wisdom, too, that is why it is in the bill. Clause 12 and 14 of the bill provides for the provisional clearance to be issued to a ship who submits the documents. This is, in essence, a virtual clearance. So that when I say that we are facilitating, sir, it is really just about being able to facilitate. The bill is what it is. It is about being able to facilitate these transactions, sir, in a manner, sir, that would allow us to be able to do business a lot faster than we have done business, sir. As it relates to just in time, I spoke about that earlier, but you want to be able to to process, verify these documents, sir, and have them reviewed and accepted by the entities, sir, so that ships don't come and have to stick up. You know, like sometimes when you see people hustling past you in traffic and they get by the roundabout, and you ask yourself, but why are you wasting your time? So this is to make sure that the roundabout is clear. When the ships come in, sir, and they have places to go, I want them to say, when I come to Barbados, I know that I will submit my things online before. I know when I get to Barbados, I will be processed quickly, and I know I can go on my merry way. I know when I come to Barbados, that Barbados is so in tune with the work that we have to do that I also want to hire more Barbadians on board my ship. Clause 13 of the bill, sir, allows for the submissions of the documents on actual arrival as well. And Clause 15 lists the documents to be submitted through the maritime single window. 16 to 19, sir, as we get closer to the end of the bill, 16 to 19, sir, of the bill provides for the pre-departure times and documentation for a ship leaving Barbados. And Clause 17 of the bill, which is consistent with Clause 12, provides for virtual clearance, sir. All over the bill. Facilitation. I know, sir, that if we are able to do this right, when we say we are reimagining maritime, it is not just conversation. It is a reality that will transform lives, improve the way we do business. The Honourable Member for St. James South, I know your concern, sir, ma'am, sorry, is in relation to the way we do business. I know the Honourable Members for St. Philip both have an interest in this area as well, sir. There is no doubt in my mind that in what we are doing here, sir, we are creating significant opportunity for people. When I think of the magnitude of the entire thing, the amount of opportunity that we will be creating for people, sir, the amount of wrongs that we are righting in this maritime space, sir. Clause 20, sir, of the bill penalizes the failure to submit pre-arrival and pre-departure documents. The maximum penalty is $200,000. So if the ships want to come, you got to submit your documents too. If you don't, because I've put in place all these things for you, you can't, they ain't here for style either, you got to use them too. And if you don't want to use what we put in place, in keeping with what other jurisdictions have done, pay me some money, $200,000. Then the bill, sir, goes on to deal with further documentary matters between 21 to 23. Between 24 to 26, it addresses the submission requirements for arriving and departing cruise vessels. So we're addressing cruise as well. Between 27 and 32, it details the regime in alignment with the file for clearance of arrival and passengers and crew. And Clause 31 in particular incorporates the human element, sir. In Clause 33, we will be penalizing persons for submitting improper documentation or falsifying documentation, sir. Anybody who makes a false declaration, sir, when they come to Barbados, sir, will have to pay tremendous penalties in relation to this bill. Because we will not be condoning any attempt to commit either fraud. And of course, sir, we will also be penalizing, if it's a genuine error, it's a genuine error. And you got to apply The PM often says, apply your heart to common sense. But we have, sir, to be able to make sure that we could determine, the fox from the chickens. We will provide for dispute settlement, sir. The bill allows the minister to make regulations as necessary. And at clause 41, it considers the other amendments that we have to make, sir, to make this bill a reality. Clause 42 states that this act shall come into operation, sir, by proclamation. As I said, sir, there are a few things that I would like to be able to iron out, especially in relation to the JRCC. I know you also have some time as well to be able to do it, but we will proclaim this bill hopefully very soon. But I'm telling you that there is an excitement in the persons involved in shipping, sir. There is an excitement, so if you speak to them, there is an excitement about what Barbados has done, about the transformation, though not visible to many, but that it is felt and reeled in the experiences of those whose lives depend on shipping. It is clear to me, sir, that in doing this bill, this file, in relation to the other things that we are doing, sir, we have reimagined maritime. We've done so, sir, in a way that is safe and in a way that is secure. We have created the efficiencies, sir, that are necessary for people to be able to live in this country. We have made sure, sir, that we've been compliant with the IMO, the International Maritime Organization. I've told you that I have no intention of being a decision taker only, and that Barbados must find itself involved more seriously at the level, I hope, of the General Assembly and the General Council to influence also what happens, sir, as we go forward, sir. I've also said during the course of this conversation that the facilitation that we are doing is not only for international agencies and ships and countries, but that we are doing the same kind of facilitation in the port for the local agents and for the people. And that we have been a government that listens, sir. When it became clear to me that some persons were complaining about the containers and the barrels in the port, we said, well, look, let the people go back and look at the things. People have to be able to facilitate business, and one of the things we will do is that we will create a safe container examination facility, not inside the belly of the port, but with the same kind of security near to the port, so that you can then come and examine your containers without compromising security, either for yourself or for the port. So overall, sir, I wish to say, sir, that as part of a large suite of legislation, sir, this being the first, but with many to come, I hope that the CPC, I know, because it is not only the Ministry of Maritime that is busy working, they're all busy working. I suspect the CPC has never seen this level of work yet. The amount of bills that are coming out of this government, sir. But I do hope to have mine before the Parliament of Barbados very soon, sir. I've also said, sir, that we've been working with the immigration, the customs, and so on, sir, to become more efficient. You've seen it. You've seen the improvements in immigration. I've seen the improvements in customs. So overall, sir, as I close, I wish, sir, to commend this bill to this House. I wish to say, sir, that I want to thank the staff in the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Blue Economy who have worked so assiduously to get this bill here, and we'll be getting other things before the public. I want to thank those who are stakeholders, whether here or overseas, for being able to work with us the way that they have worked with us over the last few years, sir. And I say to you, sir, as I close, that over the next few months, sir, as we continue to bring new pieces of legislation consistently within the maritime sphere, it will be, sir, to the betterment of this country. It will be, sir, to the betterment of the institutions which exist in this country. And it certainly, sir, will be to the betterment of Barbadians, sir, in and outside of this country, sir. With that, sir, I wish to thank you.
I remember you have to move the bill, be read a second time.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move, sir, that this bill be read a second time.
Honorable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Normally, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition would raise at this point in response, I'm sure, to our colleague who's just led this debate. However, I would have indicated at the outset that we have a standing committee meeting with the International Monetary Fund at 2 p.m. and in order to allow members to break for lunch, but also not to rush the Honorable Leader of the Opposition in his response, I would therefore wish to move the suspension of the sitting until 3:15 p.m.
Take the second that, sir.
The question is that this honorable chamber be suspended until 3:15 p.m. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me take the ayes have it. This honorable chamber stands suspended until 3:15 p.m.